Hello, hockey fans. The first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs continues on, but now it's time to talk about the Western Conference teams who didn't make it. Much like the East, while 8 teams in the conference make it, there are 8 who do not. And in the West, it was pretty interesting. So let's talk about the 8 teams in the West who are not part of this year's Sweet 16. Do I really need to say anything about the Canucks? I mean, 2 years ago, they were this close to making the conference final, and then they went from that to this, to having the worst record in the league, and to giving one of the Avs division rivals Quinn Hughes for Magic Beans, all while not even trying to tank. That's the baffling thing, because Elias Pettersson and all these other key players, they're still there. So yeah, it's gonna be a while before Vancouver kind of fixes things. Though I do want to say this on a bit of a somber note. I did hear the news. The Canucks family did lose one of their own, John Garrett, who was a long time color analyst for the Canucks. Passed away recently. I actually watched some of the Canucks telecasts from the Canucks feed, thanks to ESPN Plus, and of course it was until about a few years ago, it was John Shorthouse and John Garrett. Of course, John Shorthouse is still the uh, often imitated voice of the Canucks, the play-by-play voice of the Canucks, but Garrett was his TV partner. They did gel well together. That was a hell of a pairing. So, with that, I say, of course, many prayers to the family and friends of John Garrett. Another Bedard season, no playoffs though. I read somebody said that they're close. I don't know if that's true. I really don't know if that's true because the Blackhawks finished as the second worst team in the conference. They finished 18 points behind the line, but I've heard some say they're close. I don't know about that. This is going to be it's going to be another long 2, maybe 3 seasons for them. I'm telling you, and I said this before. Connor Bedard, he's going to run out. He is. Expect Connor within the next like 2 years. If he doesn't get a taste of playoffs within the next 2 years, he's gonna get pissed. He's gonna go public. And he's gonna say, "Get me out of here." I'll bet on it. Yet another team who went from sugar to shit in a short time, though. This was 4 years. Cause I remember 4 years ago they were in the playoffs as champions of the Pacific Division, and then after they got mollywopped by their provincial rivals, it's been hard for them. Another year without a postseason, and they were much closer than last year. This year, not so much. It's been terrible, so bad that they decided to do Nazem Kadri the favor of sending him back to the Avs. Um, Calgary, it sucks. Calgary is still going to be stuck as Edmonton's little brother. Though I say that even though technically the teams kind of debuted around the same time, not in the NHL, no, but they debuted their respective leagues. Of course, Edmonton was in the WHA in the same year. So really, they're kind of the elder statesmen in the NHL because Edmonton didn't join the NHL until '79. But even so, they're kind of the little brother because Edmonton won cups and Calgary only has 1989 to fall back on. That and their belief that Jelena scored in 2004. But yeah, it's just a big mess for Calgary. The Kraken are still a far cry from that team who shocked people with their playoff run 3 years prior. Hard to believe this season that ended was their fifth in the league. Time sure flies. But yeah, Seattle, they still don't have the right stuff to match what they did 3 years ago. And I don't know if they will, but it should be interesting to see them at least try. But yeah, something needs to be done. Something seriously needs to be done. But right now, the Kraken, they're kind of, as this generation says, they're kind of mid. Ooh, boy. What the hell happened? This team won the President's Trophy last year. This year, 500. 35, 35, 12, 82 points. That's 500. That's 500 NHL, 82 points in 82 games. I think Connor Hellebuck didn't have that magic. The players, I think there was some injuries. They couldn't keep it together, though they actually had a bit of a, a chance late, but they were they were out of time. They just ran out of time. What do they do from here? What do they do for you? Because the Jets are one of the least successful teams in the NHL right now. It's them and Columbus, but yeah, they it's true. Like I said, it's amazing. They went from President's Trophy last year to 500 and finished 8 points behind the playoff line this year. Something needs to be done. Maybe they need a new coach. Maybe they need more pieces. Who knows? But they need to fix something in Winnipeg. They really do. I'm just gonna be straight honest. I was actually pulling for them to make it. I had a number of reasons. Number one, celebrating. Celebrating. You've seen what this kid's doing? There are people saying Macklin Celebrini should be in Hart Trophy consideration. There might be some arguments for it. I mean, 115 points, which sets a franchise record for points in a season, and he's not even 20 yet. Lord knows what this kid could do years down the line. Number one. Number two, um, I kind of wanted them to make the playoffs because Mike Greer's the GM. Of course, Mike Greer made history. He's the first black GM in NHL history. And if they had made, trust me, if they had made the playoffs, he'd have been a shoe in for GM of the year. He would have got that like unanimous. Would have been unanimous. And three, well, it had been 6 years. Sharks have made the playoffs in this entire decade, and now it's now a 7 year drought. Though here's the crazy thing: that's their longest drought in team history. Remember, once upon a time the Sharks couldn't go like more than 2 or 3 years out playoffs, but it's now been seven. But they'll make it next year. I would think so. They're too close, and they got the kid. They just build around him. They'll be in next year. It might be another streak. The only part of me that wanted Nashville to make it was the part that believes in omens. Remember, it was in 22 that the Avs and Nashville played each other in the first round, and of course, when that happened, that we swept them, and we all know what happened there. The Predators, they were close. They were very close. And they did much better than they did last year. But it still baffles me that they snagged all those big names entering last year, and they fizzled. And now Trotz is out as GM, so we'll see what happens with them during this offseason. I could see them getting one more kind of key name, and then they'll probably be ready. Who knows? They almost did it again. Yeah, they almost did it again. Remember last year they won like 20 games in a row. Wasn't 20, but seemed like it. They won like a whole bunch of games in a row late, and they snuck into that second wild card and almost made it to round two. They almost snuck across that line again. They finished 4 points out and they finished in a three-way tie at 86 points as far as teams behind the line. But the Blues had the regulation wins thing sewed up, so they finished as the ninth seed, if you will. So what happens now? Do the Blues make any big moves? I would think so. I would think they would try to snag that one last piece that would get them over the hump. I mean, like I said, this team snuck in last year and almost made the round two. Who knows what they'll have planned this offseason? And that is the Western Conference post-mortem. If you like this video, click the like button if you're on YouTube. Click subscribe if you want more. If you're on TikTok and Instagram, feel free to hit that follow button. And of course, I'll be back later tonight to recap tonight's Stanley Cup playoff action. So stay tuned for that.